interpret it differently.
But there is a limit to how much you can interpret.
So what I'm saying is, if Allah provided the perfect, then surely there would be one interpretation of it. If it was that perfect, like I wouldn't give my child something that is like so precious, and give it to someone and they drop it and it breaks, and then it just distorts the whole image of it. And so that's what you've seen going through. So unless Muhammad is here communicating it himself, no one can say this is the correct interpretation. I was basically trying to get to the point of it's still a faith.
I'll tell you why this is unlike other religious or traditions from other cultures.
Yeah.
In Islam, whatever has been transmitted to the Prophet as a revelation, as he dictated to them, he was also a living example of what he meant. Okay? That is why the Prophet ﷺ has been described as a walking Quran. Why? He exemplified, he materialized after internalizing the Quran and show it to the people what it means. So when, for example, it says قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, say Allah is one, of course he explained to them what this oneness is. The language itself is clear. Now if someone now comes today and says it means one means two, for example, where are they getting this from? This is an interpretation, but obviously it's a wrong one. So what is the correct interpretation? The correct interpretation, of course, is interpretation which the Quran interprets itself. Al-Qur'anu yufassiru ba'daha ba'd. The Quran explains part of it by itself, other parts. Okay? This is the primary mode of interpretation. The Prophet explained the Quran. The Prophet lived the Quran. And the companions and the students of the Prophet, who was given the Quran, the recipients of the revelation, they understood it. If they didn't, they asked what it meant. So we have occasions where they asked, what is Abba? What is this word Abba in the Quran? And it was explained to them. So because the Quran came in a language which is very eloquent, not everyone in the street knows high-level language of that particular language, all the eloquence, words and phrases of the language. You don't expect a street dweller, for example, a person in the street, to come up with the highest level of eloquence in the linguistic of that language, because they may not have that vocabulary within their, the corpus, their frame of vocabulary, so they may not have heard this word, but others may have. So that's why the Quran words and phrases, if they were not understood, they were explained to the people who they understood it. The best understanding, the best explanation, the best interpretation is by the Prophet himself through the Quran. Yeah. So he explains it, and the Quran says, okay, this is the best interpretation.
But then what I'm saying is, you can read this, and it's not in chronological order. Sometimes it's hard to know who's speaking to who and how, etc., etc. Some of the stories aren't complete, or it might mention someone, but you kind of have to. How do you find out who that person is? And so what I was told is that the hadith and the hadith then help you to interpret.
Let's take that.
So my whole point was, if it was the perfect word as it was said, surely you should be able to read that and receive, etc.
The level of expectation that you are asking for is a level where the Quran is not going to be this book.
Yeah.
The Quran would be every single book on planet Earth altogether.
Yeah.
Why? Because that's
Go on, sorry.
that is the level of detail, but that's not how the Quran is. Quran is a book of guidance in a way that it is sufficient. For example,
so therefore, like I'm saying here, faith still plays a strong role in it.
Not faith. Let me explain. When the Quran says, he begets not, nor was he begotten, in the same chapter we're discussing. Now, the Quran does not need to tell you all the people in the past, or all the people in the future who have this belief that God has a father, mother, brother, uncle, whatever, a progeny, or lineages, like fathers and forefathers. Doesn't need to. It is simply telling you he hasn't got any lineage and he doesn't have any forefathers or fathers. Simple.
But does it say that around that whole context?
No.
Says it?
The statement that God is one, he's self-sufficient,
he begets
and he does not beget, or nor is he begotten, it is sufficient enough to refute or reject all understanding in which God is a child of someone, or God has parents and so on. You don't need to know the history about the Romans and the Greeks and the Christians and the Hindus of all these godfathers and godmothers and godchildren. This is the level of succinct conciseness of the Quran, which explains it to a level that you understand that yes, God is a being who doesn't have any parents or lineages.
It denies the Trinitarian idea of God.
Any.
So that's fine, and that's fine. But then if I take other verses that
give an example.
Maybe are aggressive towards polytheists, Christians, aggressive. Yeah, in terms
what do you mean by aggressive?
Okay, don't take them as allies, for example, Christians and the Jews.
Isn't that a praiseworthy statement?
No, but no, don't take them as allies.
Yes. Isn't that a statement that you should say, I agree 100%?
Right.
Okay. What is an ally?
Don't take them as allies.
Yes. The Quran gives a general statement of command to the Muslims. Do not take Jews and the Christians as allies. Besides Muslims, right? Don't take them as your allies. What is an ally?
Wait, do you know where that is in there?
I can find it easily if you want. Fine.
An ally is someone that you align yourself with in a particular cause.
When we're done with him,
sure.
and the topic over there is like the Sunnah is out of Quran. So I want you to see I have
Maybe inshallah.
inshallah.
Right. Brother. Sorry.
It says do not take
So allies, what is an
it also says they're the closest among those in love, etc., etc. Yes, so this is my point.
The one he's talking about, though, it says, don't take the Jews and Christians allies because they are allies to each other. One of the sheikhs said that's only those.
But
a sheikh. That's what I'm saying. So
listen.
do you understand what I'm saying?
My friend.
Sorry.
What is an ally?
An ally is someone that you align yourself with in a particular cause. For a particular cause, or you trust them.
You
generally, you'd
they are your protecting.
You do something.
They are your protecting, supporting, helping friend.
Yeah.
For example, how America is an ally to some country, right? For example, looks after them, protects them, takes care of them, preserves them, right? Now, would you expect a polytheist to do the same to the Muslim? Of course not. Because Islam is about what? Against idolatry, against worship of more than one God. So someone who worships more than one God would never take you someone who will give you good advice. Never. Impossible. Impossible. So to trust them would be making a mistake. It will be a mistake of judgment. Brother, don't bring Bible in. It's irrelevant. It will be a mistake of judgment. You cannot rely on someone who's not going to give you good advice. Absolutely not. So the Quran doesn't say, don't take them as your friends. It says allies who are protecting, supporting those who will look after your affairs and so on. And it's quite logical. You do not expect, for example, when the Cold War was happening between America and Soviet Union, they don't take one another as allies. They don't, because they are against their own interests. You cannot, logically speaking, you cannot have allies for one another. So likewise, Islam and anything goes against Islam, they cannot be allies of each other. It's impossible. So that is what Islam says. You cannot take them. But Islam says, as you said, it doesn't stop you from, having good relations with them, being one with being in ma'ruf, having a fair and good and just relationship with them. Doesn't matter, as long as they don't fight you and drive you out of your homes or plot to kill you and so on. So Islam is not against a relationship between people based on this fairness and justice and mutual.
I'll give that example. Just an example of something that someone could maybe interpret differently, or it doesn't necessarily explain exactly the whole context. So again, my point is,
it does, as the brother already explained.
One of the sheikhs.
No, not sheikh.
Told him.
It says the Quran itself explains they are allies to each other. There are other verses in the Quran, if I remember correctly. They're allies with each other. Do you not know this phrase? Birds of a feather flock together, or something like this. Why? Because that's the allies. That's the community who support each other. So when the Quran says about not to take, it is quite understandable and praiseworthy, because in any relationship in communities of different countries. This is the basis. You take allies, someone who will be in line with your own interests. Someone who does not have the same interest with you, you're not going to take them as your allies.
So would you say that Muslim nations who align, like you're saying about with America and that, align themselves in any way?
Muslim nations should not take allies who would not be their protecting friend. Simple. Yeah. So, but Quran is not saying don't take them as your, compatriot friends and so on in community and so on. No, it says have good relationships with you. In fact, this is one of the essence of living in community. You can have your differences. La ikraha fi din. Quran says there is no compulsion in religion. Why? Because the truth and the error is made distinct and clear. So that's why, my friend, when there were non-Muslims in Islamic lands, when Muslims in an authority, they were thriving, and they lived side by side in Syria before this, funny event that happened with Assad and so on. There was a church in one side of the road and a mosque on the other side of the road, standing side by side with their service provision to their respective communities for thousands of years. How was that possible? It's the tolerance that Islam provides. You can have your faith, that's it. So it is not that Islam says, you can't have any kind of relationship with other communities. Of course you can. So when...
I don't believe Muslims think that anyway. So, say you take a random, if you just take a random scripture and read it, and within itself, you can find the explanation. Is that correct?
No.
That's what you were saying.
To give you an example, I've just picked up this. فَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ حِينَ تُمْسُونَ وَحِينَ تُصْبِحُونَ. So glory to Allah in the sun rises and when you enter the morning. وَلَهُ الْحَمْدُ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَعَشِيًّا وَحِينَ تُظْهِرُونَ. And his are the praises and thanks in the heavens and the earth. And in the glorify him in the afternoon, and when you come in up to the time when they begin to decline, right? Now,
so what's the point of that? You don't need the hadith then?
Wait. When you read this, you can see whether this makes sense or not. Hadith gives you the details. Remember, the Quran was given...
necessary because...
Let me explain to you. The Quran says to the Prophet, ask the Muslims, tell them.
God says to the Prophet.
Of course, that's what I mean. Pray, establish prayer. Okay? Now, if it told you every single details of how to establish that prayer, what to say in your prayer, the rituals that you have to take to do that prayer, the sequence of events that you have to undertake of the ritual in prayer, the Quran would be, as I said, a book, huge book. The Quran left this لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ, to explain to the people, and the role was to the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet said, pray like you see me praying. So because he says, the Quran says, وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. The Prophet, God says, the Prophet does not speak of his own desires. Whatever he says is a revelation sent to him. So God is inspired by God's revelation. He's been inspired by God to teach.
So they then documented how he prayed.
So the Prophet says, this is what you pray. When you pray, you say, Allahu Akbar. And he demonstrates that. So we follow him. He says, he goes, Allahu Akbar, and he goes to bowing. Now, what we say in the bowing, the Prophet said so. Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. And we follow him. Quran doesn't have to explain all of that. So when we accept that the Prophet ﷺ has been given this revelation, and the Quran says, go to him, obey Allah and obey the Prophet. Ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul. And Allah says in the Quran, whatever he gives, وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. Whatever he gives, accept, take from him. Whatever he abstains you to abstain from, you abstain from it. It is the Quranic inductions.
So really the first Muslims, they had the faith in its, to some extent, in its purest form, because they had the word that had come straight from Muhammad, and they had the example who walked among them.
Good.
They could see and observe him and everything.
Now,
Muslims now, it's kind of a secondary.
But here is the beauty. Why I say it's a beauty. we have documentation of the life of the Prophet, not only what he did, but what he didn't do. What do I mean?
So he didn't eat this.
When you speak, do you take pause and breath?
I should, yeah. I should more often.
No, as you're speaking,
Yeah, I do, yeah.
as you're speaking, as I'm speaking, do I say I take moments, pause, breath?
Yeah.
It is not my speech, but I also take breath.
Yeah.
We have documentation even when and how he even take a pause.
Yeah.
That to that level of detail about what the Prophet said and when he didn't say. This is the level of documentation we have about his life.
So if we run it back to the original thing, the idea of faith. When I kept saying faith, you kept saying no. So what would be the role of faith in all of this? Or is there no role at all for faith?
When you say faith, look, we believe in the unseen.
And a belief in the unseen.
Unseen.
Yes.
I haven't seen the Prophet.
Yes.
I haven't seen heaven and hell.
Yes.
I haven't seen Day of Judgment.
Yes.
I haven't seen how the Quran was revealed to the Prophet.
Yes.
I have not been witness to any of that.
Yes.
So in what I have
within there, is there the possibility of being wrong? 'Cause this is what we were saying earlier. I was saying about faith, and there's a possibility of being wrong, questioning things, and the guy was saying no.
So what I have is
there that possibility?
No. What I have, as the Quran says,
Yeah.
about the people.
Okay.
The Quran is this book that has been given us guidance,
Yeah.
without a doubt, for those who do good deeds. Yeah. Those who believe in the unseen, ghaib,
Yeah.
who perform the prayers and gives out, spends what God has given them out of His, provision,
Yeah.
and they have certainty in the hereafter.
Yeah. So there's no chance of that being.
So we have this faith,
Yeah.
but this faith to the level of certainty. How do we elevate our faith to the level of certainty? To give you an example.
High probability.
No, to level of certainty. Certainty comes in several forms and degrees.
Yeah.
One form is, so when we say yaqeen or certainty,
Yeah.
one is ilmul yaqeen, one is aynul yaqeen, one is haqqul yaqeen. What I mean is,
I'll have faith that you're telling me.
certainty of knowledge,
Yeah.
certainty of hearing, seeing, and certainty of actually witnessing, actually seeing this, the reality. For example, I may have absolute knowledge now about something,
Yeah.
but when I actually see it, that's another level of certainty.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I still can have certainty. So, do I see gravity? But I'm certain gravity exists. Why? Because I see the effects of gravity. Not because what I'm told, but I see the effects of it working.
But it started off by being told about gravity.
No, it's not about something told. Why does something fall? You can look at it, think about yourself. Something falls again, if I drop it, it just falls. There seems to be some kind of attractive pull towards here, on this earth. Wherever you go, it's pulling it down. You can experiment everywhere.
That's still based, like I said about the heuristics, it's still based on the fact that scientists or whoever, where did you find out about gravity in the first place?
No, look. You don't have to be a
Still based
scientist.
on-
Imagine no scientist tell you.
Yeah.
And you yourself in a desert.
You would know that if you drop something, it would, but you wouldn't know how that happened.
You know there is a force
Force, yeah.
that's driving it down.
Yes, your experience.
You don't see that force,
From experience.
but you see the effect.
Yeah.
You don't need to be Newton. Newton is the one who formulated it,
Yes.
but it doesn't mean no one else can understand that.
Yes.
So we can see the effects of this force that I can't see,
Yeah.
and then you say, I'm certain there's something doing that. Now,
So,
you can...
yeah, there's certainly something doing that, but when it comes to interpreting it, different people may have different interpretations
say-
of what is causing that.
But you can
Therefore,
say...
that's the level
Fine.
of faith.
But the certainty that there is a thing there that's pulling it down, that's the level of certainty.
Yeah,
You didn't say,
something
oh, I
happened. Yeah.
assume.
Yeah.
It's quite obvious.
Yeah.
So when, for example, I mean, look at, there's lots of ways you can have certainty. You can have inductive reasoning, deductive
Yeah, I understand that.
Imagine now there's a room, okay? No windows.
Yep.
It's a concealed everywhere. One door.
Yep.
Everything, the floor is sealed.